Oaky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side. Hey cats, EDDBUD here. I've received countless requests from viewers to cover today's topic regarding the ASICS Blast series running shoes. The Novablast 5, the Sonicblast, the Superblast 2 and the new Megablast. But which shoe is for which type of runner? What type of session? If you can only buy one or another, which should you get? Let's try and figure it all out. So first up, what is the Blast lineup from ASICS? I first reviewed the ASICS Novablast back in 2020. That was one of the first shoes in this lineup. Started out as what appeared to be a more max cushion sort of bouncy trainer. I found it to be exceptionally compressive at the time, but perhaps a little bit unstable. Add on 5 years, and we've received a yearly update of that Flight Foam Blast midsole material. Subtle changes between version 1 and 2, and then they went to a slightly denser, more stable kind of foam in version 3 and 4, but we're back to a softer midsole formula this time in the Novablast 5. This uses something called Flight Foam Blast Max, which is a little bit softer than what we ended up with in the version 4. Takes us back almost full circle really to the version 1, but with a much better, more fitting upper. It's not quite so generous. I remember the first version of the shoe was a little bit long. In fact, you could probably half size down. I think this is a great all-rounder in 2025 when you consider that in the sample size this shoe only weighs 254 grams. There's a whole load of soft compression here, though we have got these sort of elevated sidewalls around the heel which provide a little bit more support than the first version ever did. I think it's nimble enough to classify as a shoe that you could perhaps run at some faster paces, though it's plush enough for those easier miles. I think it's a really great option to have if you favour that sort of 8mm drop that seems to be the sort of fashionable one right now. Seems to be the norm in sort of daily shoes of this ilk. I think when you consider that this shoe is on sale in the UK at the moment for around about £110, you've got to really search for reasons not to try out this shoe. It's been a constant viewer favourite over the years. It's got an exceptionally forgiving midsole and pretty good grip now actually. That's been one of the areas that hasn't always been great on the Novablast. I think it's a little bit better in the version 5 than we've had in the past few. So I think the Novablast 5 covers that daily use category, if that's what you're after. It's a very strange colour, this launch one. I'm not entirely sure about it, although in fairness, even when it gets dirty, it doesn't look too bad. Next shoe up in the Blast lineup, the Superblast 2. Now, would you believe that this is almost the same weight in terms of the sample size as the Novablast 5, though we've got quite a bit more midsole stack here in the heel and the forefoot. The drop sticks to that 8mm, which is very favoured right now. I just find that this shoe is a little bit more capable in those long run type situations than the Novablast 5. Perhaps if you just want a little bit more cushion underfoot that's a bit more responsive as well. Maybe you're going to do some faster paced intervals within that longer run, then the Superblast 2 comes into play. When you start looking around at other brands and their shoes that kind of fit into this category, you find that they're often an awful lot heavier and they tend to just focus on super softness in the midsole, whereas this thing's actually got a little bit of get up and go about it when you start moving quicker. So if you don't want the extra heft on foot, you still want a nice balanced shoe between the sort of upper and midsole materials, the Superblast 2 is the one for you. There's just a bit more resilience to the foam combination here in the Superblast 2 than the Novablast 5. Just feels a touch more responsive than super squashy. And let's face it, a lot of people pick these shoes up and just couldn't quite get their head around them, or they're not all that soft, but the more and more you use them, the better and better this one gets. I think it's like the quick return to form of that upper layer of the foam that really does the magic here. So for me, I think you can kind of get away with your daily runs in this one and do your longer runs too, which could save you from having to buy 2 different shoes, perhaps eliminating the Novablast 5 a little bit for some runners. The issue is that the Superblast 2 is seldom found for anything less than about 180 Earth credits here in the UK, and that is quite a serious sum of cash for anybody right now. I think there's a slight upgrade as well on the outsole rubber here in the Superblast 2 over the Novablast 5. So you're probably saying right now, what about the Megablast, Ed? Where does that fit? Well, I think if you want a little bit more stack than the Superblast 2, you want lighter weight and sort of better foam, you guts to pays your money, I suppose. I think the Megablast personally is one of those golden shoes I've really enjoyed running in this one. It's lighter than the Superblast by about 40 grams on foot. It's really quite prominent. The Megablast here features 45mm of stack in the heel of the sample size, which I think ties it in terms of stack with the Sonicblast, which we'll get to in a minute. This has a new version of Flight Foam Blast, which is the squared variant. Seems to possess a little bit more energy return and bounce than the Superblast 2, and it feels great out the box as well. I didn't find that this needed to be broken in whatsoever. A thinner, more breathable mesh, which I think where most of the weight improvement comes from. I just feel that the foam here is a better impact protector but has more responsiveness to it. It's a bit more of an exciting ride. Perhaps if the Superblast 2 was a bit muted for you when you first picked it up, then the Megablast I think will perhaps deliver on what you may have been expecting. It's just a more wild and raucous kind of ride. Again, I feel that the outsole is a little bit more superior than the NOVBLAST 5. Perhaps not quite as good as the Superblast 2. There's not quite as much rubber coverage here, though I'm seeing no wear whatsoever. The rubber looks fantastic. It's in all the major places where it counts. Be good to actually test these in some really nasty winter weather and see how they really hold up. So, Megablast for daily training, your longer runs, maybe even some faster pace speed work, although there's quite a lot of shoe here in terms of width. So the outlier here is the Sonicblast. This was released about the same time as the Megablast. We've got Flight Foam Blast Max as the bottom layer here, and then supposedly Flight Foam Turbo Squared once again, but it does feel very different to me than the Megablast. You do have a nylon plate here as well within the Sonicblast. Doesn't quite feel like the same sort of engaging, bouncy, responsive ride that we've got in the Megablast. The plate makes this shoe feel decent at pace, yes, perhaps at sort of tempo speed, but aside of that, the overt rigidity that we've got here in the Sonicblast means it's kind of one that feels like the plate's almost there as a stabilizing element. Quite a niche shoe. It kind of wants you to run in a very particular way, and when we're looking at versatility and value as two top measures really that people are looking for in a running shoe, then yeah, it just makes it more of a niche option. I have to say the Sonicblast does have an excellent upper. That is probably the best part of the shoe. If you're thinking about fit, you're thinking about breathability, it really is fantastic. Kind of wish that this was on top of the NOVBLAST 5. So although it lacks that sort of bounce and excitement, it does make up for it in terms of durability, and especially if you want that specific shoe for running at pace for your workouts, this absolutely isn't a sort of daily versatile paced shoe. So it definitely does sit on the edge there. It's a bit of an outlier, this one. Now, there are a couple of other Blast shoes in the lineup. I don't have either of them, but here's some details. The VersaBlast 4 doesn't even have the Flight Foam Blast midsole. It's Amplifoam, which I haven't tried, so I can't comment too much about that one. The other one that's interesting, though, is the DynaBlast. Now, this basically looks exactly like the NOVBLAST 3. It's almost like they basically just carried on producing that shoe but renamed it. The midsole even states the foam type in exactly the same place as the NOVBLAST 3, and the outsoles appear the same also. If you've run in the DynaBlast, you know, let me know, is it the same as the NOVBLAST 3? I'd really like to get some viewer experiences there. So which of the Blast lineup is for you? Have you got all of them? Have you been using them in training or even racing perhaps for the Sonicblast or the Megablast? Let us know down in the comments, my valued viewers. Quick musical interlude for you. Just spotted there's a No Name Live EP by Jack White. Hadn't heard anything about this one. It was apparently released in February of this year, but I don't recall seeing it come out or anything. There's an absolutely fantastic version of one of my favourite tracks from this album, which is called Archbishop Harold Holmes. I think it's live performances that are pulled from various different shows that Jack did on that sort of concert tour. There's a bit more immediacy and certainly a bit more pace to some of the live versions of these tracks that you'll probably know from Jack's most recent solo album. Really enjoying this one. Go and check it out. There's lots of energy there. The guitar tones are vicious, almost like a hungry snake. The No Name Live EP from Jack White. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hope you found this video informative. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Also give this video a thumbs up, like, and drop us a comment for the algorithm. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you